Tops up here.
We are in the midst of a record year in mergers and acquisitions. This will be the biggest year in mankind doing deals. $2 trillion worth of deals were completed to the end of June. $2 trillion. Significance of that number, we're up 28% on last year. The last record year was 2007. You might remember that year quite well for various reasons. So no worries there. So 2015 is going to be a record year. But we have a problem, and that problem needs to be spelled out. Mark Twain once said, there are only two elements in life you need to succeed. Only two. One, ignorance. Two, confidence. And clearly, we're seeing that play out with the presidential candidates at the moment. But we're going to stick to acquisitions tonight, just so we know. There's no political speeches yet. The research is damning. It's probably about 50% are a success, probably more like 80% are a failure. We're just bad at them. So with a record year of mergers and acquisitions, how much fun can you have? So there has to be a better way. And here's the problem. Big companies lose their head. Okay, and obviously, without naming names, Bank of America purchased Countrywide for $2.5 billion. The only problem is they spent up to now, and they're still counting, by the way, $47.5 billion fixing it up, right? Governor Baker signed the state budget last week at $38.1 billion, just to put that into perspective. $47.5 billion. And of course, again, not naming names, Citizens Bank purchased a company called Charter One Financial. And they are renovating the signs above the door at the moment at 200 branches, which seems reasonable. The only thing is the deal completed 10 years ago. 10 years. Now, how long does it take to put a sign up above a door? I mean, I have no idea, but it seems a little bit extreme to me. And then let's take HP finally. A practice acquirer, right? But again, here we have a software giant who's done many deals, and they go and buy a software company in a little place called the United Kingdom, a little company called Autonomy. And they don't spend small change, these companies. So they spent nearly $12 billion on that baby. $12 billion, they've written off about $9 billion of it. The incoming CEO, a mathematician from Cambridge, Lynch, Dr. Lynch, he likes to be called, was fired. And there seems to be some discrepancy over how big the company was when they bought it for some reason. There's lawsuits and things happening. I don't really understand it myself. So there has to be a better way. Okay, so that's the landscape. We're basically very bad at them. So what's the better way? So anyone who's a student of business, anyone who studies business, has been in business for 10, 20, 50 years, if you haven't read this book, Positioning, The Battle for Your Mind by Al Ries and Jack Trout, you should be ashamed of yourself, because it came out in 1981. It's like an old Beatles album. It never ages, okay? This is the book to be read. What was the thesis of Jack Trout? He said, listen, strategy is the key to everything, and it's absolutely the key to a better way of buying businesses. If you don't know which direction you're going in, for goodness sake, the last thing you should be doing is an acquisition. Why foist that pain on the seller of a business? So what Al Ries and Jack Trout said was, you're trying to grab the positioning, the space in the prospect's head. That's what you're trying to own. So Sperry were the first company to produce a computer. But IBM were the first company to own the space in the mind. So when you sit down and look at acquisitions, you've got to work out which direction are you going in. A guy called Warren Buffett is quite good at this stuff. And Warren doesn't buy technology companies, really, right? He doesn't buy them. Why? Doesn't understand them. Doesn't know how to run them. And that's the point. The research, Cass Business School did a little bit of research. 12,000 deals, 1984 to 2008. There's an internship for you. 12,000 deals they looked at. And the bottom line is how you run the target. Post-acquisition integration is the key. And when Warren Buffett goes on the acquisition trail, he's buying what he wants to buy. That's the phase 2 of target identification. You don't want to buy what's for sale. What's for sale is irrelevant. It's what you want to buy that matters. And he doesn't buy billion-dollar deals every year. 25 last year, some were as small as 1.9 million. These are tiny deals. So assuming you've got your strategy, assuming you've got the target identification right, you know what you want to buy, the next phase, and the better way of doing deals, although you can still fail, is clearly valuation. Now, pricing a target is tricky, but here's a little sentence for you to remember. Buyers perceive value, sellers aspire to price. If you're a French software company buying a Boston software company, you're in Parisian footprints. Only you can stand in those shoes. Only you can look at the Boston target with that angle. If you're a Japanese software company from Tokyo looking at the same Boston company, different footprint, different angle, different perception of value. The seller, on the other hand, hey, Frank's best friend has just sold out his business down the golf club for 40 million. Guess what he thinks he's worth now? His friend's 40 million, I'm worth 41. Aspiration. VC has just been backed, a VC-backed software company has just been given a value of 100 million, and you're selling your business, hey, I'm as good as them. It's all about aspiration. So buyers perceive value, and why are you perceiving value? Because you know how you're going to run the business. And as you tilt forward into valuation and pricing, you'll start to get into negotiation. And the thing I would say to you on negotiation is this: the biggest word you have to remember as a buyer is respect. You could be sitting in front of a family who have spent 25 years building this business, right? And have you done that? Have you built a business over 25 years? So it's the respect that has to be shown. And you might see body language. Sometimes it's quite extreme, the body language. No, I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. But here's a little secret. We underutilize questions. I had a 70-year-old chairman look unhappy in a negotiating meeting once. You know what his problem was? He wanted a 10-year service contract. 10 years. It wasn't a problem, but I didn't understand that until I asked the question. So here's the 2 reasons why you ask questions regularly. Number 1, things change from meeting to meeting. You know, business doesn't care you've got a major meeting with a buyer on a Tuesday. It'll still fire you on the Monday. So clients are lost, key staff leave, key staff join. So use questions to clarify what's changed from previous meetings. And secondly, if you're going to understand how to negotiate, you're going to have to get really smart at using questions. Because there's no point in shouting at someone that doesn't agree with you. You've got to ask why they're taking that stance. And through questioning, you really can understand that much better. So assuming you've got that far in an acquisition, and somebody might say, Ian, this sounds like an awfully lot of hard work. Yeah, it is. It's meant to be, right? You get to a special place, the building inspection report. You get the chance to do due diligence. And here's where we miss a trick again. Sure, we have to look at numbers, but here's the missing point. We miss the opportunity to validate our integration strategy, because you've got this window to test whether the integration might work. If you're basing that integration on key sales managers or key distribution channels on the other side, why do we spend all our time looking at these numbers instead of worrying about the integration? We have to do both, obviously. By the way, remember, with numbers, just a little tip from a chartered accountant, if it's interesting, it's wrong, okay? Just thought I'd share that with you. The other thing sellers do is they cheat. Sometimes they'll build things up a little bit. And, you know, I'm not saying it's lipstick in a pig. Well, I am, but it may not be. Okay, so just think about that a little bit. So really be careful you understand what you're looking at. And finally, and only I can say this, there's a cultural difference sometimes between countries, and, you know, sometimes you've got this rosy tinted view of that British acquisition. Maybe it was a vacation you had by the sea, or, you know, a little bit of sand between the toes, or the friendly Bobby, when in reality is the target is much more aggressive than you think. So anyway, all I would say is that acquisitions can be a big, big success. They're both essential and risky. And all I would say is there's got to be a better way. And an acquisition playbook and an acquisition process should let you find the right deals at the right price and integrate them seamlessly. That's all I'm getting. 15 minutes of fame. Thank you. Thank you.